Hello, everyone, and welcome to another series from the Good Grief Coach of Busting Through Life Challenges. Today, I'm really honoured to have the lovely Deborah Brown on from Lessons in Loss. And Debbie is going to share with you what it is that she does and how it came about. So, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining me today and having
Thanks for having me.
that for me with me. So, tell us then, how did you start your journey? What was your passion? What made you do what you want to do here?
Well, I was an educator for 25 years,
Mm.
so I've been in the teaching profession since the late 90s. Goodness me. When you say it like that, you think, "Oh, really?" Anyway, loved it for a time, particularly teaching, and I taught all over the place. I taught in Newcastle, Manchester, Sheffield, and later locally in Tameside. So that's sort of where things started in terms of the support for children. But what probably pushed me into it is my own losses. So I lost my mum. My mum died in 2013, and in 2016 my sister died. So we had two really significant deaths, and um, it was horrendous. It's hard to describe how horrendous it was at that time. When my mum died, my sister very much became. There was 6 years difference between me and my sister Ange. She was 6 years older than me. So she'd always sort of felt a bit like mum anyway. When I was, for example, when I was 10, she was 16, nearly 17. So she was often the boss of us anyway. She did a little bit of looking after us when we were younger and that sort of thing. So for me, when she became very ill, it felt like I lost my mum twice.
Yeah.
Um, and when my mum died, she sort of immediately became the sort of hierarchy of the family, being the oldest possibly, but also being the person who was very much wanting to look after us. We're quite a caring family. We all sort of went in professions of care. So she wanted to immediately look after us. So the loss of both of those two women in my life has been absolutely massive.
Mm.
And I think when I realized, um, I think the gaping hole in education, um, when other children were losing their family members through death, because that's what was my experience. So that's where my understanding was at the time. That's when I realized, hang on, what are we doing? What, where is the guidance? Where are my credentials? At the time, by the way, of me realizing this, I'd been an educator for 20 years. So it wasn't like I'd only just been teaching for a few years and I suddenly thought, oh, hang on, we need to do something here. And I still ask the question now in 2025, how many schools can hand on heart say we're getting it right when it comes to supporting children who are grieving?
Yeah.
And I think that the answer to that question is likely to be very low in number. Certainly from the research and development that we've done, most schools are screaming out for support, saying, look, where is this support? What do we do when a child is in a significant grief-like state?
Mm.
And there is literally no support out there. And that's how schools are sharing with me that they feel, and there's certainly no funding.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is a bit of a mess, really.
Do you
And
ever have the likes of cruise bereavement go into your schools over there?
no. So in terms of the charities, I think some of the charities are doing a wonderful job and they're trying incredibly hard in difficult times. Again, financially, charities aren't doing great. Some of the charities are really struggling. That goes without saying. And so, there's such a lot of support needed
Mm.
that when a child, for example, loses, a death, the death of a parent happens, or that there is a significant death in the family, such as a suicide, in my opinion, they shouldn't have to wait for support. There
Mm.
shouldn't be a 6 month waiting list. There shouldn't be a situation where we're saying, oh, well, we only support children who are um, who have been bereaved recently in the last few months, or we only support children after the 12-month period, or we only support them at 6 months. That's a load of nonsense. We want children supported immediately, and if schools are reaching out for support, they need that support now,
Yeah.
not next week, right now. And of course, it goes without saying, anybody who listens to this and is involved in either the education or mental health services, we are currently experiencing 2 year waiting lists for services for some of our children. And it actually makes me really emotional just talking about it. Why is that even okay?
I
It
know.
isn't okay.
Mm.
And so that's why I started writing this Lessons in Loss series of journals to support children, to give practitioners the opportunity for an off-the-shelf care package
Yeah.
that is really quick and easy to follow. We've also created what we've called adult support guides to go with the journal, so that adults who support the child have got some support themselves.
Yeah.
That is an off-the-shelf care package for them too. We
Yeah.
also do deliver training, so we can, any schools, organisations, police services, NHS, anyone involved in that world, we can do a full circle approach
Yeah.
to make sure that they feel like they have the skills when difficult things happen. And somebody said to me, oh, you're doing really tricky subjects. Like, one of our journals is called Kids Helpful Guide When a Loved One Dies by Suicide.
Mm.
And my oof to that is, yes, of course, because we have young people who are currently trying to navigate when that happens and there is no support for them.
Yeah.
So what's the alternative? Just to leave them? No, that's not okay.
Definitely working with people to break down that stigma that is around grief as well, to get everybody talking about it, because in doing so, we empower ourselves. It's not a disempowering thing, and we can help ourselves protect ourselves when it happens in our life, because we know it's going to. We'll have something to help us at that time. And I think
Definitely.
what you're doing is absolutely amazing. Um, and so you've got some of your books there, haven't you?
I have, yeah. Do you want to have a look at a
Yes.
few? So,
Carry
so I've talked a lot about bereavement because that's where my experience predominantly lies. But when we really started to look into it, um, gosh, there's so many different types of loss and therefore grief
on.
that our children are trying to navigate. And strangely, we actually created When Parents Separate was our first journal.
Yes, yes.
Um, there's so many children trying to navigate what happens when their parents separate. What do they do? How are they supposed to act? Are they supposed to talk to both parents, or are they supposed to be angry with one of the parents and pick a favourite? These are the questions, genuine questions that children have asked me when I'm so lucky to be able to work with young people. And so they say some things, and it's fascinating when you talk to children because they do tell you the absolute
Right?
truth.
Absolutely.
Absolute truth. And so this was the first of our journals, and we did publish this a while ago, over 12 months ago now. So we've actually rewritten it since. We've had a real look through it because one of the things that we did about 6 months into starting to write the journals, I worked with a few subcontractors who support me in the ideas process. So it's not just all me. And those practitioners are predominantly from schools, they're consultants in the world of mental health or SEND, that type of thing. And one of them said, why don't you section it? It needs to be sectioned so that the practitioner um, can find pages easier, so that the child knows what each section is about. And so we had to reorganize the activities. So this is the first one. And just to have a quick nosy in, my hair's got caught there. Just to have a quick nosy in it, we've even got things like a questionnaire for dad.
Yeah.
So there's some directness about our books, you
Yeah.
know. Obviously, there's also a questionnaire for mum. Oh, and incidentally, it is written as if the child has mum and dad, and we are very mindful that some families might have two dads or two mums, and eventually we will work on some products that touch on that and make it as widely available as possible. But this one, it assumes there's mum and dad. We talk about blended families. You know, what does the child do when we've suddenly got a blended family situation? All of a sudden, you know, they're in a situation where they've got new brothers and sisters. How's that going to go? What are they supposed to do? How are they expected to act? What are the new rules? What
Mm.
are the rules like in mum's house and the rules in dad's house? Often you find they're quite different in each one.
Yeah.
So there's so much in there in terms of that that newness. It's so new, isn't it? What's happening to them when parents separate? It's significant. So that was our first one.
That's
Our
really
second one, when a loved one dies by suicide, very close to my heart. This somebody said to me, "Oh, what are you doing that for?" Wh- and it was a particular charity, funnily enough. And they said, "What are you doing that for?" We're in the business of preventing suicide. And my answer to that is, well, what do you think this is doing?
yeah.
If you look into statistics, the number of families that have more than one suicide is really worrying.
Mm.
The whole idea of supporting the young people when there has been a death by suicide is so that they feel heard. They
Yeah.
feel like somebody is listening to them about what's happened and they have got somewhere where they can write their thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
So that was number two.
Very good.
Number three, when a pet dies. I have suffered quite a bit of pet loss in my life. And in 2018 our dog Jasper died and he was just such an adorable dog. We loved him so much. And people said things to me like, you'll not be surprised to hear this, Diane, I'm sure, but people said things to me like, oh, well, you've been through worse. Genuinely people who were quite close to me, friends and family, oh well, after the death of your mum and your sister, you'll have the resilience to deal with that. This was genuinely real things people said to me, and it's frightening really how many people say things like that to children. And so this one is dedicated to our Jasper. And there's all sorts of things in there where the children get the chance to talk about their pet who has died. I worked with a child, interestingly, whose fish had died. And the child was really upset and quite cross that the parent had poured the fish down the toilet and was really, really, really distressed about it. And I think we in minimizing
Yeah.
that loss
Yeah.
and subsequent grief,
Mm.
that child didn't feel like they had the support that they needed. So this is a real important one in terms of that.
You've had a relationship with that fish.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because my little boy, well, I say my little boy is very not little anymore, but when my little boy was little, we had two fish called Shadow and Sunshine, and he named them. Absolutely brilliant names, really, for what was a 4-year-old at the time. He picked the names, and he recalls feeling really, really sad when they died, and they strangely did die quite closely to each other. It was like one of them died of a broken heart when the other one had died. And I remember having conversations with him about what we're going to do about the fish and where are they going to go, and I didn't do the right thing because at the time I didn't have the skills that I now have. And we do talk about that now in terms of what did I do and what should I have done better. So yeah, lots to think about. Society seems to have some sort of hierarchy about death,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Like there is a lot of comparing. Oh well, if it's only a pet, well, what's up with you? And that's sort of the mentality that we've got to break through.
Absolutely. 100%.
There has to be some sort of validation of feelings. It's okay to feel devastated when your fish dies. That's okay. If that's how the child feels,
Well,
then let's let that be okay.
sort to compare ourselves, aren't we, from knee high up?
Yeah,
It starts back down there, and it's making people aware of what they're saying and the language that they're using. And guilt was the other one. Be familiar with that from when we did our training. It's like, we're guilted into things from when we're down here. So it can keep people stuck in their grief. And I mean, adults don't know this stuff. So
that's
how
true.
can we possibly expect the children to know this stuff? They need to be taught in the right way, as do we've got a lot of work to do. That's all I can say, Debs.
I agree.
All we've got.
Yeah,
Let's keep going. Have you got
yeah.
any you've got
We've
other
got more. So the next one
just
that we
show us the
wrote.
characters inside because I think you showed me.
Oh yeah, will do. The next one that we wrote was about when a loved one is seriously ill. Because my sister, what first happened to her, she was diagnosed with flu about 18 months before she died. And then oh, we had loads of different diagnoses. She had pneumonia. Then they checked her for celiac disease. We were told she had stomach cancer, and then it wasn't stomach cancer, it was something else. And it was ridiculous, really, because there were so many complications. So when my sister was first diagnosed, she was seriously ill. And so in the seriously ill book, we've got lots of information. This is a really interesting page actually to show you about when children go to hospitals. Some of them describe feeling very, very distressed when they see different things in the hospital. They don't know what all this machinery means.
Yeah.
And so it we've put a lot of information in this one about what they might see when they visit their family member in hospital. You're quite right to ask about our characters. So we've tried to make our characters as friendly as possible. And so here they are. This is one guy in bed. One person said to me, "Well, why did you go with monsters, the monster theme?" Well, the answer to that is because we couldn't really use people because the people thing wouldn't have worked. We needed something that was different, a character that wasn't human was a preferred option. And so we decided to stick with the friendly monster approach. And it's working, and the children love it, by the way. Let me just show you this. So we actually went ahead and had our plush toys made. And so our mascot, you might notice that on the front of all the books, the monster's the same. It's just a different colour.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so we got one made. And the idea eventually is we're hoping to get every monster colour made, but these are really quite expensive to get made. So that's been a challenge really, getting a really strong, good quality product that's then got some sort of up level. It hasn't been easy. So, but we've got them ready, and we got them ready for our research and development project. I don't know whether I told you, but we won the Innovate UK Creative Catalyst Grant of 2024. So
Yes.
we've been able to go into schools and get feedback through research. So children and adults have used these journals and fed back to us. And the feedback's just been absolutely wonderful. So that's the little mascot that we had. So that's number 4, seriously ill. You'll not be surprised to hear that we then, whilst I was writing the seriously ill book, I was actually writing this one. When a loved one is terminally ill, because my sister very quickly became terminally ill. And being honest, we weren't really sure that she was going to die. There was a lot of skirting around the issue in the hospital. There was a lot of people trying to make good. They
Mm.
were trying to fix it. They were trying to make us think everything was going to be okay. There wasn't a lot, apart from one doctor, there wasn't a lot of directness.
Yeah.
And I think that we really needed some directness. We needed somebody to just tell us the truth a lot sooner than they did.
Mm.
Um, and I'm not blaming anybody, it's just the way it is. That's just the way things are. And so This one is really important because inside it, we talk about death
Mm.
because we have to be honest that when a loved one is terminally ill, they are going to die.
Yeah.
And how do we prepare a child for that? Is there a way of preparing a child for the subsequent death? Well, for a start, we might want to let them know that there is going to be something called a funeral. And what is a funeral? What does a funeral look like? And interestingly, my children didn't come to either the funeral of my mum or my sister for all sorts of reasons. At the time, I didn't know what I now do.
Mm.
And we were hiding our grief.
Mm.
We didn't realize that that's what we were doing, but that's exactly what we were doing. And it's interesting. I have an 18-year-old daughter, and we've recently had a conversation about what is a funeral, what does it look like, and that's because we've got one coming up. And so we've had a big chat about whether she should come and all this business. We've got to get talking.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the
Get
one thing I am grateful for because when Andrew died, the following year, my little sister died. But in between those two significant losses, I went off and did the grief recovery training. So when I came back from that, I was able to have that conversation with her and the children, and we were able to make sure that they had the opportunity to go to the church, even though they didn't go and do the cremation part, but to have that opportunity to say goodbye to their mum.
yes,
And
incredibly important.
it was very important. And, it was nurtured all the way along rather than, children, need to not be there. And I was very,
Yeah. And there's no rules that say, oh yeah, children should go to funerals. And
no,
there's no rules that say children shouldn't go to funerals. What should happen is there should be a discussion.
yeah, definitely.
It's
But
even with
I've got
really young
clients that have
children.
been carrying it for years, the fact that they weren't allowed to go and say goodbye
Yes,
to
true.
grandparents. Funeral, so yes, and I mean, I myself, when I was 13, my grandfather died and I wasn't allowed to go. And I know it was from a place of love, but it kept me longer in that space of not having closure.
Yeah. It's about not that it's about not having the opportunity to see what happens, to say goodbye, to learn from each other. There's a lot of learning goes on in a funeral. And without doubt for me, one of the biggest problems of not inviting a child is they don't see the distress in others. And therefore they don't see that as being okay. There's a big thing, isn't there? When we cry, one of the first things we do is say sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But what we're doing when we do that is we are indirectly saying to the child, I've done something wrong here, and so I'm saying sorry for it. But actually, it's really important that the children see that we are distressed and sad about what's happened and that it's okay to feel like that. And so there's a big thing there for me. And yeah, if I had my time again, would I invite the children? Yes.
Mm.
Um, because I think that they
Well, you only
want
know what you know at the time until
completion,
you
but
see
you
everything.
can't do what,
Yeah.
yeah, you can't undo what you did.
Mm.
What we're a lot more open now for obvious reasons. There's a quote that's attributed a lot to Maya Angelou, and she says something along the lines of when you know more, you do better. We
Yeah.
can't do anything about it unless we know more. So number six is when a grandparent dies. One of the children in the project, when he opened this book, he hugged it.
Oh,
Got a picture of him hugging it, and he just said, "I can't wait to show this to my mum." And when it comes to the feedback from the children, it's been absolutely fascinating. One of the biggest things they're saying to us is, what's been the best thing about this book? Now, some children say, oh, we love the monsters, we loved colouring it in, we like the games. Those sorts of things do come out. But one of the biggest takeaways for us is they felt like somebody's actually listening to them.
yeah,
They've got a
100%.
chance to share their feelings. So for the children, a
Created
lot
that
of
safe space for them to open up, and they've been able
yeah,
to do that. It's just such a gift.
like hallelujah to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, inside the journals we do put games. So the children love these, and we would like to have put more in. But one of the challenges we've had, each journal, I'll just try and show you. This one says 120 pages, but this was a hard one, this 130. We wanted the journals to all be the same price,
Yeah.
just because we felt that that was a fairer option. But because we're a bit naive in business, being really honest, I'm more of a creator. I am a creator. I've been working in a creative environment and school for 20 odd years. So when it comes to the business side and understanding the finance, that's been a massive learning curve for us. And each book, when you add another 4 pages, it costs about 25 pence to print it. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're buying 1,000, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So that's been one of our challenges. So we've sort of made a decision now that we'll keep the books at 124 pages where possible. And that can be challenging because there's such a lot potentially that could go in them. We've had to get tough. Like, no, come on, we can't do it because if we do put more in, then there's going to be a problem for us in terms of cost. And there's only so much that we're going to be able to charge for the journals, and we want it to be a fair price. So they're the first six, and they're all already available on our website, lessonsinloss.com. And to go with each of those, Diane, we created, I'll just grab one of these. I don't know which one it is. Oh, weird. Seriously, yeah, we created an adult support guide to go with each journal. And the way it's written, there's loads of information about how children grieve. But and there's some session preparation. You'll notice the monsters are coloured in for these because we know that the teacher will have it out flat on the table. And so we want it to be friendly. We want it to be a friendly book.
Yeah.
Whilst the teacher or the support person is sat with the child, they've got this open. It'll be nice for the children to see the coloured in monsters.
Yeah.
And then each of the activities is set out in a sort of sessional plan. So
Yes. Yeah.
like sessional plans, and every journal has one of them to go with it.
It's
And
very
they're
good.
all on our Lessons in Loss site at the moment. But
That's really,
since the project ended at the end of January, we haven't been sitting doing nothing. We've been really busy. We've finished When Your Mum Has Died, obviously very close to my heart, dedicated to my own mum, who died. When Your Mum Has Died is finished. It's currently only available on Amazon. So we publish on Amazon first, and then we'll order our own copies of the journals, ready to sort of sell to people who buy via our website. That's sort of how it works. And it takes a little bit longer for us to get our author copies. So that's when a loved one dies, when your mum has died. We've also written When Your Dad Has Died.
Mhm.
I noticed they're quite similar, by the way. And if
Yes.
you don't, these are my author copies because I don't have any
Yes. Yeah.
my not for resale editors copies. But I'll show you a bit of editing actually. See, I usually use a different colour when I'm doing my editing. So this is one. This is the number 9. When a loved one is in prison.
Right.
That's literally only just gone live this morning.
Oh,
In
right. Well,
in
I'm
the
glad, I'm
on
glad you're
the
announcing it here with us. That's
Yeah, literally this morning it went available to purchase via Amazon this morning, the 28th of March. So you'll see a couple of edits. So I've worked with a lady who worked in a prison with this one. And so I wrote all the book, got all the ideas together. My brother is the graphic designer, he does all the wonderful images, and he's so talented. And then because this for us is not a lived experience, all of the other books, all 6 of the other books, we have lived experience of.
yeah.
This one, we don't. And although I have known people to have gone to prison, I've never actually been in one, I've never visited. And so I needed a checker to make sure that what we were writing was accurate. I had to do a lot of research, and she edited it for us. To give you an example of one of the edits, we'd called when we've got a page where it talks about what you might see when you go into a prison, because that must be incredibly difficult for children to sort of get their head round. And we call them security guards, and it's actually prison officers that we need to say. So th that's been
Yes, get
really
the language
powerful.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we actually have 9 journals finished, and there's probably another at least 10 to do. Um, yeah, there's a lot of need and just so
Yeah.
much to do. We also, to go with them, we created what I call a comfort care kit. This box does shut, but the monster's in the way. So the idea is that the child has a place really to put their journal when it's finished with,
Yeah.
and they've
Nice
got a
complete.
place for all the nice memories. And on the website they can make it their own really. There's pens and pencils that they can buy. Um, we've even had a notebook made. I think this one, I can't remember which is lined and which isn't. This one's the lined one, but we do have a one that's not lined. Colouring packs. Hey, I tell you what I even bought. These. You remember these? Do you remember these? The,
Oh
the children in schools thought they were brilliant
yeah.
when we did them in the project. And we even have a bookmark and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, all sort of set inside the box, and the journal can go in when they've finished and they've got a safe place for it. So yeah, we're on a mission to get them out to as many schools as possible.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, what I'll do at the end of this recording is I will put your details up. So if anybody wants to reach out to your website, they'll be able to find the list and see what they want to get off that. Because it's lovely how you've drilled down into each specific one as well, as opposed to doing it as just an overview of what grief is.
yeah, like a generic grief book, and they do have their place, and I think that sometimes they're important. For us, we wanted to home in on some specific losses. One of the reasons why is I want to educate people that there's so many. You
Yes.
know, we've got a situation where as we said earlier, we've got this comparing going on, and like this one's more important than this one, and that's not the case. It Interestingly, we thought when we did the project that this one was going to be the most popular in schools, but it hasn't been.
Which one
In
was that?
fact,
It's not very clear.
it's the pet loss one.
Pet loss one. Yes, right.
Um, and we thought this was going to be the most popular, but actually, this one has
Right. That doesn't surprise me at all.
when parents
That-
separate.
yeah, because when I put my book together, that was the reason why I finally got round to doing it because I
Yeah,
had two young people come and join me in my life, and I could see from my coaching experience and my grief training what was going on.
yeah,
So my book is more sort of, as you've just said, it's more sort of covers everything, but goes into those a little bit sort of deeply about how guilt holds us back and
yes.
comparing and how that impacts us and our decisions that we make. So it's more NLP sort of based in those same.
Yeah, a little bit more. Oh, it's funny you should mention NLP. It's weird. We're definitely aligned, aren't we? Because I did a lot of positive psychology work with a lady called Julie Hurst, and she's wonderful. Hi, Julie, just in case you're watching. And I attended her course. It's called Everyday Magic, and she teaches us that every day there is magic.
Yeah.
And even if you are a griever, it's okay to feel happy about something. So one of the best examples I can think of with that is when Ange died. It was only about a week later. My husband and I, my mum and sister both died in August, and also happens to be my wedding anniversary. So my husband said, "No, come on, we need to go out. We'll take the children, all that." So we went into a place called The Alchemist in Manchester where they do all these cocktails. And the children just loved watching. It was during the day. The children loved watching it all. And my friend took a photograph of me laughing as the children were, really excited. And my initial reaction to that was, don't put that on Facebook.
Yeah.
Why did I not want it on Facebook? Because I didn't want people to judge that I was happy, even
Yeah.
though my sister had not long since died. Now, of course, now I wouldn't mind that going on Facebook
Yeah.
because I have a different thought process.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have periods of happiness
Yeah. Oh,
during the time when you're feeling absolutely terrible.
yeah.
So yeah, there's such as you said earlier, there's such a lot of educating to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
really.
We've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, yeah, there is, and it's good that there's more and more people starting to talk about grief, starting to talk about loss, starting to talk about the fact that grief is not just associated with bereavement.
Yes.
There are lots of different things that trigger a grief reaction,
Yeah.
um, you know, and that's okay.
Well, it's been absolutely wonderful listening to you today, and thank you for sharing your stories and your products. And I just can't wait to put that at the end of this so that people can actually buy them for their kids that are struggling right now.
Yeah, thanks so much. It'll be great.
It's
The more we can get them out there, the better. Thanks so much for
absolutely.
your help.
And thank you. Thank you for joining me. And if anybody would like to find out more, Debbie's website is,
Lessonsinloss.com.
and you can find me at the Good Grief Coach IOM.com. Thank you for joining us. Bye.